Hi, my name is Alice, and today I'm going to be playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The category is Knuckles New Game Plus Glitchless, and the reason why I play this category today is because Knuckles is my favourite character, Glitchless is my preferred way to play the game, as I really love the platforming, and New Game Plus is just a cool in-between between Beat the Game and All Emeralds. So you have high perform right from the start, but you don't need to do any of these Blue Sphere Emerald stages, so you pick them up as you go along. Also, for the benefit of any games committee watching, this is all played on hardware, just in case that's a relevant fact for submission. And we're going to get started. You'll see that I've already got a complete save file. So the goal is to essentially go through each of these levels one by one and get to the final one. And we are going to get started now. There's going to be a lot to explain, so I'll try and go as quick as I can. Immediately, we're going to go for a super glide off of this enemy, which we get. That's where you glide and then immediately... you hit an enemy and immediately glide, and it gives you the upwards momentum from the enemy into your glide, sending you straight upwards. And now we're just doing these really precise jumps to build up speed and traverse the top path, saving a few seconds over the bottom path. Here I'm going to lose my rings on purpose. Basically, if I have 50 rings and I double jump, I'll turn into Hyper Knuckles. Normally that's a good thing, but in this stage, the transformation animation can really get in your way and doesn't actually save any significant time on the level. So what I'm doing is... Oh, sadly missed that jump there. Lost a couple of seconds to that. Not too much of a problem, though. But yeah, I can basically keep the level going a lot smoother without high perform, because all it'll do is stop me in midair to transform, and then I'll save like half a second, if that. So all the time that I saved is lost entirely from transforming. There's just a little nuance there on the first level. Also, you'll see the time is going to stop now. This game's normally timed in real-time minus time bonus. But for the benefit of verification for the event, I will obviously be submitting my estimate in real time, like pure real time. So no need to worry about that in terms of working out how long a category is going to take. Here in Act 2, we're not going to have enough rings to get super forms, so we're going to be playing this on vanilla as well. And there's a cycle in the middle of the stage that I'd really like to get. The cycles have been moving since Act 1. They're constantly going, so with this timing, I should be able to get the one that I want, provided everything goes well. Doing some more loop jumps in here to build speed, and now a big slope jump to cut that corner, and then we are straight on into the tube. So this platform up here is the cycle I'm talking about. It should be just coming down as I get here. There it is. Oh, and I just caught the edge of that spring. Unfortunate, gonna lose a few seconds there. This game can be quite particular with that sort of thing. Very unfortunate that I just slipped off the edge. Can we get this jump though? Lovely. Jumping straight up there is trickier than it looks. And now we are onto the first boss, or the second boss, sorry. Also a little bit of a slip up there with the spring. Here we want to stand about here and jump. And get all the hits just like that. So losing a small chunk of time to those mistakes, but not too much of an issue. We can keep going. There we go, get a nice early capsule hit there as well. This is one of the reasons why we time in real time minus time bonus. If we were to just use in-game time, then stuff like that between the stages wouldn't count, because the timer stops when you kill the boss. Lost a bit of time here. These are the current world record splits to my knowledge, 39-32. So, currently held by me, but I'm not anticipating that we're going to beat that run on a no reset, but we'll see what happens. You know, I only recently set this time, so anything can happen. So getting a nice super glide at the start of Hydro 1 and then climbing up that wall to cut a bit of a corner. And we're going to get super form at a very awkward timing in this stage, so I have to be very careful how I approach it. We are going to get it just up here. So I now have 50 rings. I want to be very careful not to... unfortunate there. Okay, we're fine. We can keep going. No problems. So yeah, you can see sometimes getting super form in certain places can be really, really awkward. There, the ground is very weird and will not let you land on it properly. It's very, very awkward. Here I'm going to try and get some hits on the boss. It's quite awkward to do when you're in super because you're so much quicker. The usual setups do not work. Got a couple on him. Oh, nearly got all of them above the stage. That would have been really cool. 105, sadly not a fantastic time for Act 1, but it is a stage that can go very wrong. The super form transformation is actually very awkward to manage in that stage, so not too bothered about it. I wanted to glide onto the platform, but instead I transformed and fell straight down, so that can happen. You win some, you lose some. On to Act 2. We're going to be racing for a cycle right at the start of here. Got to be very careful in this tunnel, because thanks to a quirk in how the game is arranged with different kill points in the wall for crush deaths, it is possible for Knuckles to hit them while gliding through tunnels, so we have to be very careful. And there we go, there's the platform we're after. And we're going to carry on our merry way. We're going to be doing something in this stage that looks a little bit like a glitch, but I promise you it's not. So, because the top of the ceilings in this game are solid, they are essentially just regular terrain. And what we're going to be doing is trying to jump up on top of them. If we can't, Knuckles can actually make his way onto them through climbing. So that one we managed to make with a jump, which is lovely. The next one's a bit harder. We might see the little climb technique. But essentially, if you're up against the top of the ceiling and you grab the wall a couple of times, Knuckles will just sneak his way up on top and clamber over. Not breaking any solid terrain when doing that, so it is not classed as a glitch for this run. So this one, we're going to have to do it. You'll see me go up to this corner and then just sneak up like that. Lovely. Now we can make our way across the top of this level. But it's all solid terrain up here, so there's no glitches involved through the definition of the game. Here we come onto the boss. We just stand here to line up, and then we're going to jump and just get all 8 hits this way. There we go, 132. Very smooth HYDROCITY 2. And just land on the capsule there. Saving a tiny bit of time, not too much of a problem. There we go. So now we're going to blast off into Marble Garden. Marble Garden has some interesting nuances to it in terms of when I want to be getting super, because essentially Marble Garden 2 has an RNG boss. And you have the option of getting super early for slightly faster platforming, but then you have to fight the boss without it. Or you can delay getting super until later, and then that will give you a much, much easier boss fight. Unfortunately, taking a hit from that enemy, very annoying, but we can get this nice smooth jump up into Tails' path. Easy peasy. So we're going to use this super ring. Because we already have all the emeralds, getting super rings will make you well, it gives you 50 rings, which is what you need to transform, so very handy power up there. Jumping off that slope, and then we still need to use these blue spinning tops even though we're Hyper Knuckles, so we're going to break through this barrier, spinning top required for that, and then spring ourselves over this way, making good time to the next spinning top. Here we want to just break through this and then drop down into this gap. Very nice movement there, and then cut this corner with a glide. You'll see me doing a lot of that in the run, using glides to stop myself and cut corners. It's just the fastest way to traverse through the stage 9 times out of 10, so we're going to be doing that as much as possible. This boss, you can get 3 hits there, it's very tricky though. And now we've got 2, we're just going to wait for this spiky platform to move over. Knuckles does have a reduced jump height, even in Hyper form, so it's going to prevent us from hitting that boss without the platform. Important to note with Hyper as well, it makes you faster obviously, but it also makes you invincible and deal damage to enemies when you hit them. So that's what's going to make this next boss particularly easy if we can get through with the right number of rings. So let's see if we can manage that. It's also home to one of the trickier techniques of Glitchless, which is Spike Ball Jump. Essentially, we're going to cheat our way up to Tails' path by getting a very careful glide through a section with a spike ball that's meant to prevent us from doing it. So just do some movement here, and head over here. There's an enemy with like spikes here, but they're actually bouncy, and you can glide off with them to get some nice height. So we're going to take this spinning top up to where the spike ball is, and hopefully I'll be able to get the spike ball jump first try. If I don't, it's not a worry. With how I've routed this, I get all my rings for super afterwards and do them in the boss. So this is also the most consistent strat for this particular section. There we go. First try on the spike ball jump. So that skips a big chunk of time. Hit this red spring, and we're going to jump down these loops. Jumping off of them gets you on the correct side, because if you're not on the correct side, you will obviously go to the wrong path, which we don't want to do. Nice little piano jump off of there, but I do want this top. I can't carry on without it because it's going to help me ascend this section here. You need to be in a spinning top to traverse up this column. Now we'll grab some extra rings here. 34 is just fine for this particular section of the game. Here's another spike ball. This one isn't quite as scary. We want to go across like this and grab those rings. And now we should have enough naturally on our path to transform just as we reach the boss room, which is just what we want. It's going to allow us to bypass all the RNG of the boss fight. Just kill that guy. 3 hits kills the enemy, and that enemy will reveal a barrier that was up here, so without killing that enemy we wouldn't be able to get through, basically. So here, we just want to progress as fast as possible. Once we get into here, we're on an auto-scroller. We're waiting for the ceiling to drop down. It's meant to have the impending threat of crushing us, but honestly, it's pretty slow. We're already at the point where we need to wait for it, so not too much of a worry. We're going to have exact rings provided I don't take another hit, so we have managed the ring count just fine on this run, which is what we like to see. So we get 3 here, and there's another 4 on the entrance to the boss room there, getting 50. Now we're going to transform. Now, the reason why it's RNG is because in order to kill the boss efficiently, you want certain patterns with these spike chains. However, if you're super, it doesn't matter, because you can just, stand in the boss, deal damage to it, not have to worry about the RNG patterns at all, and you can guarantee a 2-cycle boss every time. Here I'm going to line up with a microslope on the floor to try and jump all the way up on top of this capsule in one go. Sadly not getting it, but just a second. Not too much of a problem. You can see there a nice big gold split having super there, so you can see the power of that strat over trying to get it sooner like I used to. Here we are in Carnival Night. We're not going to get super in either half of Carnival Night. These are both very short stages for Knuckles, and we only get enough rings for it in Act 2, but it's towards the end and it's just not relevant. We slowed down on purpose there so we don't hit the edge of that slope, allowing us to carry on up perfectly. Break through this barrier, try and get a nice speed boost off of this. Sadly jumping a bit too late, so we'll have to spin dash and carry on. Not too much of a time loss. The good thing about Glitchless as well is there's not many strats that kill your run. You can always keep going, which for a marathon is great in my opinion, because, the run will never irrecoverably die. You can always keep doing it. Oh, I was trying to get a super glide off that bat, but sadly mistimed it a little bit. So a little bit of time lost there. Unfortunate, but what are you going to do? Here we're going to lower the camera because the boss needs to hit itself with a spinning top. And the spinning top is confined to the screen region. So by looking down, you actually manipulate where it goes, and it's going to give us this nice setup on the boss here. Sadly missed it ever so slightly, so now it's out the other side. What I'm going to do is try and raise the camera so that the spinning top will go a bit higher. There we go, and just hit the boss like that. Not too bad of a recovery. 108 could be a bit better on this stage, but honestly, the fact that I missed the super glide, that was probably costing me more the time than the boss. So 108 is very understandable. Here I keep the camera scrolled down because it makes the flag spawn up lower, because it only spawns at the top of the screen. So you can make the flag hit the ground sooner by crouching. Very handy technique. Here we're going to go for bottom route early, which is... Oh, I just failed it. Approached a bit slow, I think, and now I've lost all my speed. You can get straight down to the bottom route, but if not, you just take this path, and then we're down to the bottom route anyway. Just loses about 4 seconds. And now we're on Knuckles' route for this stage. Knuckles doesn't have a boss in this stage, and it's an incredibly short level. Optimally, it's under 40 seconds, but it's quite challenging to get a time like that, so I'm anticipating probably like a mid-40 to a low 50, especially taking a hit there. If you jump at the end of here, you get a nice little drop through those 2 boxes, and I had to count in my head there, sorry, I should have said. Here, I'm not going to glide on top of the box, because if I did, it would activate super form and I would shoot off the other side. So, even though I have 50 rings, I have deliberately avoided using super form in this stage so that I can hit the capsule a little bit more optimally. Now we're just going to spin dash on into Ice Cap Zone. In Ice Cap, we're going to make use of a special ring early on in the stage to get Hyper. I use Hyper and Super somewhat interchangeably, by the way. I used to run Sonic Mania, and it's Super in that, so kind of the vocabulary that I have is... Oh, we didn't want to do that straight away. Nearly did any % muscle memory, but it's fine. It works. Yeah, now we have Hyper. It's going to make a lot of the stage a lot safer than it would otherwise be. So we're just going to jump down here and get on the spring. Try not to cut this corner too much. Oh, you're going to see another ability of Hyper there as well. If you glide into a wall from far enough away, then it will cause the ground to shake and kill all the enemies on the screen. It's not really too useful in a lot of cases because, the enemies are already not a threat when you're invincible. But it's also going to be like a potential soft block later in the game. It's probably the only one in Glitchless, so I'll point that out when we get to it. It can be very, very risky. Fortunately, Hyperform is very useful on this boss. Normally you'd have to take a lot of damage boosts to kill it efficiently, whereas with Hyper we can just kill it straight up. It's not too difficult at all. It starts out ever so slightly too high for Knuckles to hit, so normally you'd have to take damage boosts through its rock circle thing that is following it. But you can just keep hitting it with Hyper. No problems at all. It's going to be a 117. Making pretty smooth progress so far. Nice little gold split of minus 0.0. Ice Cap 2, we're going to get Hyper towards the end, and it'll again be very useful for the boss, but for the main stage, we're going to be doing it without. There aren't really any convenient places to gain Hyper without slowing yourself down a lot, so we're just going to be doing regular old any % strats for this stage. Landing on top of there is quite quick. It's debatable whether it's faster to go top route or bottom route, but if you're able to land on top of that button, so break the ice and then land on the button, it is definitely faster to go top route. It's very tricky to do, but if you can manage it, it can save a bit of time, so I like the potential time save of that personally. Here we're just going to spring up on these bouncy things, and we're going to get a nice big super glide off of this penguin. Straight up to here. I'll explain spin dashing quickly as well. Essentially, spin dashing optimally is 6 frame perfect jumps, followed by a frame perfect spin dash release. Oh, straight through there. That's very tricky to do. Just about managed that. That's going to be some nice time save. This boss, fairly trivial when you're invincible. Can't hurt you. Just get up on his platform, hit him, get on top of him. Oh, just about missed that one. Unfortunate. Still a nice boss kill. 116. Definitely not too shabby. But yeah, so spin dashing is when you crouch and jump. Those 6 frame perfect jumps, 7th frame release, that's what we're going for most of the time to get a perfect spin dash. On to launch base. This stage is quite tricky. It also is home to probably the main strat that I've added to the route, on top of what other people have done, which is taking the speed shoes and going through a middle path instead of going over to the left. It's quite tricky to do, but it's my route of choice, and it's definitely faster if you can manage it, so we'll be going for that. Lovely jump there. We're going to have some good cycles now because everything's going according to plan. Straight out of this teacup and then onwards. So we want to get on top of this, and then that should disappear as we go through. Lovely stuff. Very smooth so far. Oh, I didn't want to get hit there, but it's not too much of a problem. We get enough rings throughout the stage without worrying about that too much. Fortunately, you don't gain too many rings by that point of the stage. You gain most of them afterwards, so look, we've already got 34. Here we want to jump on this spring and head up this way, and then this is the mid-route I was talking about, so... Okay, we took a hit there. Unfortunate, it damage boosted us up, but we're not going to have super moving forwards. It's not actually that much of an issue, to be honest. It doesn't save very much time in this stage due to the fact that there are so many little obstacles and things that are going to get in your way. Having the increased speed over long distances is not going to be too much of a benefit, so we can just carry on at our regular pace, no problems at all. And it still allowed us to get through the mid-path. Ideally, you can do that without taking a damage boost from the frog, but if you do, you do. You know, it's not too much of an issue. Ironically, this wall is probably where you save the most time with Super, because Super Form also climbs faster. So that's probably where you're going to save the most time. Everything else in this stage has gone very smoothly so far, though, other than that one hit. So I'm going to try and set this boss up to kill without taking any hits, but I've already messed it up, so it serves me right for saying I can do cool things. You can do this damageless, but it doesn't matter too much. I have rings to spare. And there we go. Level's done. So you can actually get a sub 2 even without super form in this stage, so definitely not too bad at a 205, not too upset with a 205, and not too upset with having lost the opportunity for Hyper. On to Launch Base 2, we're going to be getting a special ring for Hyper in this stage as well. One of my particular favourite stages. It's some of my favourite platforming in the game, so... Jump over this guy ideally. Doesn't matter too much, because like I said, we'll be getting that Hyper ring to get the rings that we need. Don't need to worry too much about rings beforehand. There we go. Oh, just missed that one. You can get a cool little swag jump there. But now we can ignore a lot of the obstacles in this part of the stage. Just head straight through. A weird quirk that we're going to see coming up is that for whatever reason, if you're Hyperform, the water rises faster from the tubes. So you'll see it in a minute. This water is rising way quicker than it would do if you weren't Hyper. Normally you can actually beat the water up to the surface, but with Hyperform, you're actually relatively slow in comparison. Which is a shame. The water does make the movement a little bit trickier, but the speed of Hyper is definitely worth it in this section. You get a lot of opportunities to just spin dash and go crazy fast. Pick up some extra rings there just for safety. And then on to the boss. Having invincibility in the boss is going to be very nice, because not only does it make the first section incredibly simple, it also gives you the opportunity to do damage boost strats without any danger at all. You can just do the damage boost strats without taking damage, so right there, like I said, that part of the boss, particularly easy. And now I'm moving on to Big Arms. Big Arms can grab us, but he can't damage us, so he can waste time, but he can't actually hurt us unless we run out of rings. It's imperative that we can kill Big Arms before our ring counter drops down, because as you can see, when you are in Super, you're losing rings at a rate of 1 per second, and when we reach 0, we turn back to normal. We do not want that to happen. So we get 4 hits there, and now he's going to do some floating around on the top of the stage. I'm going to try and get a really cool top of stage hit. Nah, not quite. I'll just stand here, get a free hit like that. And now we'll go for those damage boost strats. There we go. Easy boss kill. So normally you'd have to damage boost to hit the boss like that, but because I had super form, I could just go for it. No problems whatsoever. Break the capsule, and here we're going to reset the console. Even though we're in New Game Plus, we're allowed to reset the console to skip cutscenes, provided that we go back to the correct level. So skip the cutscene and launch base 2, and now we're going to head back to Mushroom Hill. Mushroom Hill, we're going to get super form very early in the stage again. There is a special ring literally right here. So what we do is we take a super glide off of there. Sorry, I had to concentrate for a moment. But it allows us to get the Sonic's path. It's the faster way to go through this stage. Grab onto that wall and super glide up to top route. Oh, missed the super glide, but it's fine. We can just run. Not a problem. Oh, missed that path there. You can get a route straight through that center bit, but it's a bit tricky. But here we can... Oh. Okay. So a lot of these movements are quite precise, and if you end up out of sync, it can be quite difficult to catch up. But it's fine. This is a stage where so long as you know your backups, you can just keep going a lot of the time. So even though I didn't take the perfectly optimal route, I'm probably only going to lose a few seconds over doing it the optimal way. Very tricky stage to do properly, especially with Hyperform. The 106, not too bad at all for that stage. Also, we very conveniently get 10 rings for the next stage. Love to see it. Oh, I picked them up a bit too soon and they got removed with the previous level's ring total. Not to worry, we don't necessarily need rings. We'll get enough by the end of the stage to go really fast. So hey, you see me bouncing off of ceilings a lot as well. That's because when you're in a rolling state, your like directional controls are locked when you jump in midair. So what I'm doing is essentially getting myself back into a running state so that I can manipulate where Knuckles is going. For example, I can turn around in midair if I'm in a running state and glide in the opposite direction. It makes certain movements much more efficient than not doing it. Here we're just going to take some smooth running down here. Oh, I got stuck, but that's fine. Forgot to do a little jump there, but it doesn't matter. Nice big jump off of there. We want to climb up the left-hand side to get to the secret path and avoid this the pulley, because the pulley is slow. Now onto the boss. The boss there, what we do is we hit him with a jump and then we immediately glide, which is going to send us back into him and get more hits. And we're going to do the same thing here to get 8 hits total on the boss. Easy peasy. Little bit of a sloppy section in the middle, but 105 still a very solid time for MH2. This is where we're going to see our second cutscene skip as well, so just wait for the time bonus to count down and then we will reset the console. And we're going to level select back to Flying Battery, which is where we're supposed to be, so all good. Flying Battery has a weird quirk in that it has 2 sets of cycles to worry about, one of which is a level cycle, so it's already going. and one of which is a screen-based cycle, so it will start moving when we get close. This means that in order to manipulate them properly, I want to get to the section where they are at a very consistent time so that I have them exactly where I want them to be. There is a faster cycle you can go for, but it's only a little bit faster, and in the interest of consistency, I just prefer this strat. This is what I'm comfortable doing, and this is what I feel yields the best results for me. So this is where it is. That platform is in just the right place. So this platform is the level-based cycle, and these orange dots are the screen-based ones. So having them just like that. Oh, I could have jumped up on there, and that would have been what I was going for. But sadly, not what I managed to get, so we will have to... Oh, I got Hyperform a bit earlier than I'd expected because I made that mistake, so good thing I was paying attention when that happened. Could have really screwed me up. Here, these cycles should be down, I think, so we're going to jump. Yeah, they've just gone down, so we're a little bit behind cycle now, but it's not too much of a problem. Here we're going to go down into mid-route. Normally you'd have to take a completely different route around the level to get here, but because we are Knuckles, we can just glide straight in. Even non-Hyper Knuckles can do that, so... Here we want to jump up that platform. Sadly, just missed the jump. Very tricky to get. And we're going to spin dash into these spikes in order to move them out of the way. Bit faster than pushing them. Not a glitch though, that's an intended mechanic of the level. Oh, just missed the spring there, unfortunately, but we can get on another one and move across. Slightly sloppy flying battery one, bit of a shame there, but still not too much of a problem. And this boss is an auto-scroller. Normally he just tries his best to hit you, but instead we're super, so we just stand there and take no damage. Easy peasy. Poor old Mr. Tickles. Everyone loves Mr. Tickles. To give like a reference of how little time Superform can save, or Hyperform can save, by the way, I can get a faster time than this, if done optimally, with regular Knuckles. Obviously, with an optimal Hyper Knuckles, I can beat that time again, but only by a few seconds, you know. It's going to be the same in Act 2. I can only beat my regular time by like 3 or 4 seconds, so it's very tight time save that you're able to get with Hyper. Act 2 is going to have some cycles, but they're going to appear later, and we're going to try and get Hyperform by a certain part of the level, so ideally I don't take any damage, and I keep this Lightning Shield, because the Lightning Shield is what's going to allow us to pick up the rings that we require. If not, we just get it slightly later, which is a bit of a problem, but not too much. These elevators are screen-based cycles, so as long as I approach them consistently, they will always behave the same way. Very handy for setting up the level. So we should get 2 rings going through here with the Lightning Shield. And we have 50 now, which is actually earlier than I usually get it. So I managed to get some bonus rings, it looks like. Normally I would get 50 just up here and transform to get through those spikes. Now we're Hyper again. This is a stage where it probably saves a bit more time than usual. And even then it's not much, so... Just get some really early cycles there, not needing to worry about the spikes at all with Hyper. And here's everyone's favourite friend, it's Spider Steve. Everyone say thank you, Spider Steve, for his service. Want to get on this one. Right down here, and we want to see where this cycle is, because I want to go straight through like this and get on top of here. This is a screen-based cycle, so you want to approach this consistently as well. And then straight onto here. Please go up. Thank you. And we are into this section. Now in this section, I want to lose Hyperform. This is an auto-scroller boss, followed by a non-auto-scroller boss. But basically, if I try and go up to the top with Hyperform, I'm going to lose all my rings before the boss shows up. And I take a damage boost in the boss, so having more leeway is going to just give me more security in killing it. So what I'm going to do, essentially, is after this section, I'm just going to get into the auto-scroller that leads up to the boss, and just wait a few seconds for Hyperform to finish. Then I'm going to pick up some rings on the way, and have a shield and rings for the boss, and not worry about Hyper. Hyper doesn't really speed up the boss at all, so not really too concerned about maintaining it. Here we go, just wait for this to shoot, and now the door is going to open. So yeah, we're just going to stand here until that ring counter counts all the way down to 0, and now we're going to carry on. I wonder if I can still see space. Usually we try and get up here while the sky hasn't loaded in properly, and there's just a little bit of space at the top there, even with the slowdown. Love to see it. And now we go for the tube blessing, little mini game I play, try and get to the bottom of the tube without touching the sides. Beautiful stuff, all the way down to the barrier. That's the real strat right here. Forget all this New Game Plus stuff. That's the real speedrun. So I'm going to set up for the boss now, get 3 hits and jump out the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and spin dash hit. Easy boss kill. Fun bit of trivia, Robotnik is the this is the only time Knuckles fights Robotnik, and the reason for that is because the way that they put Egg Robo in the game was to just replace all of the Robotnik sprites with Egg Robo sprites. But because Robotnik has a unique sprite in this stage, the game didn't register it, so it is the only one that wasn't replaced, and therefore the only boss where Knuckles fights Robotnik. Bit of trivia. Sando 1, we're not going to be getting super form, and this stage is notoriously difficult. There are a lot of cycles you have to catch, and each one you miss is going to cost you 6 seconds. So even minor mistakes can cost you a big chunk of time. Hopefully that's not going to happen. Thank you for the good luck, Carty, by the way, and everyone else in chat. I've not been paying too much attention while I'm recording. Beautiful first cycle there. Easy peasy. And the second cycle's gone well. We've just got one more to get through, and we're going to be getting the fastest cycle on this stage. There we go, easy stuff. So now we just need to get to the end of it, and we should be getting a 58-second entry to the boss room, which is the fastest that you can manage on this stage with Glitchless. There we go, perfect stuff. This is also going to set up the cycles for Act 2, because like I said, Act 2 is having its cycles progress during Act 1. So this should give me a good setup for the start of Act 2 as well. We are flying high at the moment. This should also save 6 seconds on my splits, because I think I missed just one cycle in my PB, so... I'm actually going to type the time in right now, I'm that confident. 1:52. This boss is an auto-scroller, he's just going to jump over towards the sand. We need to get him to fall into this sand pit here. So we're just going to watch him mosey his way on down. We can do a small strat at the end to speed him up, and there is an IL strat to kill him super quick, but it is not one I would want to go for in a full game run. If anyone else wants to do that, be my guest. It is horrible. But here we're going to take a damage boost, and then just 2-tap spin dash, hits him in the sand, puts us right by the door, exactly where I want to be, exactly timed with the cycle in the next stage. It is a beautiful little setup that I personally love doing. So there we go, 1:52. Now into Sando 2. This stage has cycles as well, and we have to be very careful with when we get super form, because it happens at a point where I want to be able to glide and land. And if I mess it up, then it's going to cost a fair bit of time, because we'll miss a whole cycle. So there's going to be one section in the middle of the stage that we just want to go very, very well if we can. Oh, okay, well, we're not getting it now, that's for sure. Normally you can just sneak up there like that. Oh well, things happen. Also, you'll see these little ghost guys, they are spawning in because it's getting dark. So what I want to do eventually is, oh, okay, bit sloppy, is pull these levers that are going to turn the lights on, otherwise the ghosts will get aggressive and start attacking you. They don't like you being in their home, they're a bit territorial, so got to play it safe with them as well. Don't want to take any unnecessary hits, because I do want rings for this next section to transform. So this is what I was talking about. We're going to get this sample jump here. Oh, we sadly missed it anyway, but doesn't matter now. We have missed that cycle. Very unfortunate. We wanted to get under this crusher after pushing that one to the right, but didn't quite get the sample jump. It's a very tricky section to do properly, so not too upset about that. It can happen. As you can see, we can climb up walls very quickly as Hyper Knuckles. And the ghosts are now trying to attack me, but as I am invincible, they will be absolutely futile in their endeavors. Jump up that little sand pillar there to climb up a bit higher. This is the section where you can soft lock as well. If you glide too far into a wall and it shatters, you can knock open the sand reservoirs that are supposed to fill the stage and give you a floor to run up. And the problem with that is if you break the one for the next section ahead of you early, then it will cause you to get soft locked because the sand will be in your way. So manage to get through that section without soft locking. Always love to see it. Here we're going for this route. This is the bubble shield route. There's another route that looks really cool, but it's sadly a bit slower. So we're going to be going up to this bubble shield, gliding over, and then dropping down. Jump up that hill, and then straight down. Spin dashing into sand falls is slightly faster than not, so it's what we want to be doing if we can possibly help it. And then up to this section. This is normally where Knuckles would go onto his path, but because we're so fast, we can just go straight up into Sonic's path. No problems whatsoever. You can do that without Hyper, but it's slightly harder. And now we are on to the boss room. The boss is very easy with Hyper. You just kind of stand in him and he dies. So just wait for him to start moving, and then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Easy boss. 2:37, very solid time for this stage. You'll love to see it. There we go, saving time left, right, and center. Run's going pretty well so far. The Lava Reef, we're not going to be getting super because I want to be getting damage boosts in certain places. So it is not fast to try and save rings, basically. You will just waste time trying to avoid taking damage. I don't take as many damage boosts as other people. Some people take loads in this stage, but I personally take a slightly slower but slightly more consistent route that only takes the one. So, get a little micro slope jump there if you can. It's quite tricky though. Spin dash through there, and then into this cubby. So, now this is where I take the damage boost, just on those spikes. I'm going to play it very safe because I didn't pick up any additional rings through here. And we are home and dry. Love to see it. You can jump all the way up those spikes if you're careful, but I played it safe because without rings, you can land on the spikes and then kill your run, which I don't want to do. I get invincibility here because it's slightly handy for the boss. It just allows you to do a slightly different setup and get a one cycle on the tentacles if you're lucky. So, we'll see how I go with that. So you'll see there's these weird tentacle turret things. We just bounce around off them. Oh, I got stuck on the terrain there. Unfortunate, but we can still set up for a quick kill if... Okay, missed a hit there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just finish that one off, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I have to physically count that one because I screw it up all the time. I've got the flagpole to fall here because when the flagpole lands in certain parts of the ground, there are underground monitors that will pop up as little bonuses. And that one has a fire shield. Fire shield is very handy for the second half of this stage. So Lava Reef 2 has a lot of flame jets that we want to be immune from. Like that one. So it's going to allow us to speed up the stage considerably, especially one section later on, which is going to have a very vertical tunnel that has flame jets in it, and if you try and damage boost through them, you just fall right down to the bottom. It is horrible. So we are going to be making good use of this shield. Just concentrating for a moment. It's a very tricky stage. So from here on out, I want to be relatively efficient with my movement because there's a cycle I want to get that allows me to do a really swag jump later on, and it's my favorite thing in this stage. So, okay, looking good so far. Want to climb up in here and then go glide that way. We are looking good for it now. So we want to just jump right there and straight through. That is the cycle I was going for. Very cool when that goes well. Here's another cycle, but there are two ways through it, so we're relatively safe here. We don't lose too much time if we miss the optimal one. I sadly wasn't able to climb up on top of those. You can go up even faster, but it's quite tricky. I have to watch out because I'm going to get super form any minute now. There we go. It can really screw up your movement, so you have to be very careful there. And that's the last we're going to see of Hyper Knuckles. Now we're into Hidden Palace. Very intense stage here, very difficult, got to concentrate real hard. Phew, we made it. World record for that is 8 seconds, so a 9-second time is not quite what we want to see, but still just fine in my opinion. And it looks like we may PB, which would be a world record for this category, so very, very hype. This boss is pure RNG though. We want to see 0 bad RNG if we're going to beat my time. That's already bad RNG. Okay, we might lose a second here, but we can still do it. So, bad RNG there is if Mechasonic faces you. This is the final boss, by the way. If he faces you with his spikes, you obviously take a hit, and it's slightly slower. Here, the bad RNG will be if he swoops at us. Each one loses about 6 seconds. It's pretty rough. So hopefully we will see the laser attack. That's perfect. The laser attack makes him vulnerable. The swoop doesn't. That's why we want to see this one. And we're going to set up for 5 hits and then 3. So no swoops means a PB and a world record. So that's going to be pretty hype. Lovely, good RNG. We just need to close out the fight now. And there we go. Lovely stuff. So that should be a nice little PB. There we go. Time when the screen is completely white, 39:23. That is a new world record, new PB, and a fantastic way to advertise myself for the marathons, if you know what I mean. You know, clearly world record quality runner here, you know. So yeah, that's going to be it for the run. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've submitted every other glitchless category for both this game and Sonic and Knuckles. So I was figuring maybe I could do like a bid war or something suggestion where if you wanted, people could pick which Knuckles glitchless category I run, either any % New Game Plus or All Emeralds. It's down to you, but I reckon that would be a pretty cool donation incentive to have if I'm going to have one for these categories. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you at the marathon.